Can you guys hear me?
I hear you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see no video of anybody, just names.
There you go. That's
Oh,
me.
there you are.
Hello, how are you?
How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
All right. This is only the second time we ever use Zoom, so we're still getting used to
Good
it.
evening, everybody. The time is 7:30 p.m. I would ask all the participants to please be silent. Welcome to the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting, June 26, 2023. I'm James Sullivan. As chairman of the board, I would ask you now to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and
liberty
justice.
and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Aldrich Township Zoning Board of Adjustment has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting by primarily posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, the date, the location, the agenda of this meeting. Also by mailing such announcement to the Home News and Tribune, filing a copy of such announcement with the municipal clerk, and posting the agenda on the municipal website. Ms. C, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman Sullivan.
Here.
Mr. Connor. Absent. Mr. Stoner.
Here.
Ms. Chevalier.
Here.
Mr. Scogno.
Here.
Ms. Andrews.
Here.
Ms. Testaverde.
Here.
Mr. Izzo is absent. Mr. Clancy.
Present.
Mr. Gill.
Here,
Myself, Ms. C. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. C. Our meeting is being conducted via the internet by a webinar. It is a little unique. It takes patience on all involved because we're not sitting together in a courtroom, but we're doing so from our own homes or offices. Our meeting is being televised by OBTV channel 15, as well as YouTube Live. I remind those watching on any device that there's up to a 30-second time delay in communication. It's become important to remember if you wish to personally join the public portion. Anyone calling in will have to lower their device or you'll be confused by the time delay. I would ask all participants now, whether you're here on Zoom or anywhere else, please silence your cell phones to avoid any disturbances. Thank you. Meeting follows the same protocols as if we were in person. We have no general housekeeping matters this evening. We're going to proceed right into the two applications. I don't see a reason for a recess this evening. A public portion, as always, follows each testimony, and that's the end of the application, not when each person speaks. If you are watching on any device and you have personal interest in either of these applications tonight, and you wish to ask questions via the telephone, I suggest you take notes during the presentation to refresh your memory, and now would be a great time to get a pen and paper. During the meeting, the Vice Secretary will put up the phone numbers that you can call in on. Any one of those numbers, we will receive that call, and then the Vice Secretary at the appropriate time will allow you to speak. Ms. C, would you pick up where I left off for any other bits of information?
Sure. Also for the record, Mr. Izzo just joined us.
Thank you.
The zoning board attorney, chairman, and secretary will remain unmuted throughout the meeting. Everyone else will be muted. Once the presentation for the application begins, applicants' professionals will be asked to turn on their video and unmute themselves in the order in which they will testify. For the public, I will announce the last four digits of the caller's phone number to come forward and announce their name and address. I will also announce the last four digits of the next caller's phone number so that they can be prepared. We will share our screen to display any exhibits. The meeting information will be displayed on the screen multiple times during the meeting so that any resident who wishes to call in and join the meeting can do so. Please be patient. You will have an opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. C. As I said, we don't have any other housekeeping issues. We're going to move right into the applications. There's two. And I will say this is a rather unique evening when the two of these applications were the result of a serious fire in their homes. And my heart goes out to each of the families that suffered this loss. And hopefully you can get back to normalcy in some time in the near future. With that, having said that, I'll call on the first one. It's 18-2023Z. It's Dominic Gilberti. This is the R20 zone, block 13304, lot 1, physical locations, 2 Eagle Court. Once again, for a home construction and expansion, rebuilding their 2-story family home after it was destroyed by a house fire. This requires C and D variances. I see that the Gilbertis, I thought I saw them. Okay, I see them.
Yeah, we're right here.
It's Mr. and Mrs. Gilberti?
Yes.
Okay, and will both of you be testifying
Yeah,
at some point? I'll tell you
Yeah.
why, because you have to be sworn in. So I'm gonna ask the board attorney to swear you both in, okay?
sure, that's fine.
Okay, Mr. Clancy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could both of you just raise your right hands? And do you solemnly swear that any testimony you provide before this board will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can lower your hands and then one at a time, just state your full name for the record.
Dominic Gilberti.
Danielle Gilberti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Clancy, would you warn Mr. Gilberti, you don't have, you're not represented by counsel, right?
No.
And do you have any professionals this evening that are going to speak?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, you are looking for a D variance from the board. Mr. Clancy, as far as the stenographer?
Yeah, so usually applicants for D variances would have either a stenographer with them, or they would rely upon some other source in case they need to get a hold of the record. The record would become important if for some reason the board did not act favorably, or for some other reason where you might need to file an appeal. That record would become the basis of an appeal, which would go up to Superior Court. These meetings are, as a courtesy, recorded and broadcasted through the township website onto YouTube, the YouTube platform. However, the township can't guarantee in any meaningful way that transcript will be, or the recording will capture necessarily everything that is being said back and forth, and therefore it may result in an incomplete record. So just be aware of that moving forward. Sometimes professionals will hire a separate stenographer to take down the events of the meeting and create that record. So we're just presenting this to you so you move forward with all the information. Do you guys understand?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, and
actually, it's a rule of the board, but you can waive that rule should you wish.
Okay.
Okay.
So what is your choice?
Well, we don't have a stenographer, so I guess we would just waive.
Okay, well, I just need you to put that on the record that you're waiving
Yes.
the right to deny. Yes, okay.
Yes.
This, once again, I know you're looking for C and D variances on this issue. There are certain proofs that you're going to have to put on the record. It's a little easier when we do these issues that just deal with homeowners, and you have a very unique situation, but there are certain things you're going to have to put on the record as to why we should grant you the use variance, because there's a floor area ratio involved in here, which would require a D4 variance. So those proofs you're going to have to put on the record to the satisfaction of the board. And then, of course, we're going to talk to the township professional, Mr. Gill, who's going to explain why that variance has come up and why it needs to be examined by the board. So you understand that. So what I'm going to ask you to do in your own words and at your own pace, tell us what happened, what you're doing, why you have a floor area ratio issue, and then we may have some questions. You may have some questions for us at a later time, but there'll be plenty of time to try and sort this out. So you can proceed at your own pace, Mr. Gilberti.
Well, back in 21, my wife and I, we wanted to buy our forever home. So we decided to go to Old Bridge. It's a beautiful neighborhood. We love our neighbors, you know, everybody's really nice. And we put everything we had into this house. We did so much work from day one. We weren't even living in the house for a year. And one day, I went to work and I get a call at 6:30 in the morning that my house is on fire, and I rushed home and she was hysterical. I'm gonna get emotional.
Take your time.
Take it easy. Relax. It was
It was
very
just
traumatic for us.
Very,
today.
very traumatic, and nothing's ever happened like that in our lives. And we ended up renting a house through the insurance and everything in Morganville, and just trying to get some normalcy back in our life. And we're just really looking forward to rebuilding our home. We want to be back in our home, back in our neighborhood where, believe it or not, we're from Staten Island, and I have so many neighbors that, believe it or not, I grew up with, and it just happened to fall like that. And so we're just really hoping to, get the ball rolling and start working on our house.
I understand that part, sir, and once again, my sympathies, the fact that you lost the usage of your home.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're rebuilding and you're making it bigger than what it was.
Yeah,
So that's what we need to know.
Yeah, what we decided to do, is the kitchen in our house was very small. We have a very, very big family, and I'm 6'7", 300 pounds, and my whole family's big guys like that, and we,
We just wanted to extend it 5
just
feet.
extend the house out 5, just the kitchen and the dinette area, only 5 feet. I think it only added maybe
200 square
less
feet,
than
something like
200
that.
square feet. So it's not like a big extension. Just it gave us a little bit more room in our kitchen and our dinette area. It's very hard to move around in our kitchen.
What about the deck?
The deck is the same dimensions. I think it got brought out.
It's squared off because our deck was irregularly shaped. So we had the architect square it out
Yeah.
so that everything is like symmetrical on the house.
Yeah, because the deck came out and then on the left side of the house came in. We just squared off the deck. But most of the if you're looking at the back of the house, the left side dimensions are the same. Just the right side got pushed out, I think like I don't remember how many feet. Just a
Where the
couple
bathroom
feet.
was.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, let me go to the township professional, the zoning officer, and maybe he can give us an explanation. You're still probably going to have to help us a little bit here on why we should allow that. It's just not it's not that we can just grant this without any reason. And the reason isn't because of the fire. So what I'm saying is you're going to have to put some more things on the proofs on the record. So Mr. Gill?
Chairman, I have developed some questions that might help once we get through some of the background.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. Thank you. I am filling in for Vina tonight. I'm not usually handling D variances, so if I falter, forgive me. But as you guys are aware, as the board is aware, the board was supplied with a report from the planning office, which outlined the application. I'm not sure Vina's tempo, but she did coach me a little bit. I'd like to start with some of the history of the property because it is a unique piece of property. So I'll just go over some of the notes and then we'll go into the variances and the conditions. So the property was developed in 1998 and was was subject to a series of variance applications. Specifically, the report indicates an application 0198Z, 7799Z, and 3502Z. So shortly after the home was built, there was a series of improvements that were made. Anyone who's looked at the survey and has driven the property knows that it does present some unique conditions, this property, as it does front, while technically on 2 streets, Eagle Court terminates in a cul-de-sac bulb, which wraps around the rear of the property. So where we're used to seeing a front yard setback and a front yard property line, 2 side yards and a rear. In this instance, we really are dealing with almost a through lot situation where we have 3 front yards and then a rear or side lot property line. And for those reasons, as the previous owners or owner had made improvements to the home, there were variances that were necessitated, because even though they were making improvements to the rear of the home and in the rear yard, they were technically front yard improvements because of the way our ordinances is structured. So the first one was to construct the home originally, which implicated several front yard setback variances, as I previously delineated. Then the deck that the Gilbertis were referring to was also constructed by variance because it was a front yard improvement and didn't meet the required 40-foot front yard. They needed a variance to do that. It's actually one of the reasons that it has the unique shape that it does, because they tried to build it kind of in line with the front yard setback along the bulb of Eagle Court, so that it maintained a setback that they were requesting relief for, instead of having one point that jutted out further. And then finally, there was an in-ground pool with a patio area that was constructed. And again, because it was in the front yard, that property required relief. That was 3502Z. Now, I think one of the things that's important to note with the project in terms of its history is that it is a large home. As the report indicated, there were assessments done that I think flavor this application a little bit. There is an FAR condition that predates the ownership of the Gilbertis and is an existing condition. It does not appear, we couldn't find records to indicate when those calculations were done and how those calculations were sought, but we determined that based on the R20 standards of today, which is the zone that it's located in and was located in at the time that the property was built in 1998, the conditions already exceeded the standards. So there was a deficiency that existed. There was a small addition which was not granted pursuant to a variance by the zoning officer at some point in the mid-2000s that added a small bump out addition to the back right. The aerial imagery in figure 2 actually shows kind of a tapered roof in the back right corner. It appears that that was the addition area. That also didn't require a variance or wasn't required to obtain a variance. And I think that's important to note because the density requirements, again, haven't changed from the time that this property was developed. So in a way, we are dealing with an existing condition. And while the Gilbertis are creating new living space, which does increase the density, it does help structure the conversation a little bit for me as we proceed. The reason I say that is because when you look at the deficiency, the existing deficiency, the calculation rests at 0.249, which is substantial when looked at the requirement of 0.17. But when you look at what they're adding to the home in terms of squaring off the back left corner and squaring off the rear right corner, their deficiency may be viewed as a de minimis increase because over the span of what the requirement is, there really isn't a large improvement that's happening. One of the reasons they're here, from my conversations and our planning with the Gilbertis that they're here this evening is because one of the improvements they did want to make, Chairman, that you pointed out, was the rear deck. The rear deck was an existing open deck, wood or wood-like material with a pergola on it, or a lanai that was open air structure. That really didn't fit in the flavor of what the Gilbertis wanted. They wanted an outdoor area, but they wanted it covered so they can still enjoy it in inclement weather and on days where it might not be so nice to be outside. So what they opted to do was to roof or propose to roof that structure. And as the board is well aware, whenever you install a roof over an open deck, the deck standards no longer apply, and in the principal structure standards apply. So they were creating a new front yard setback variance along the rear of Eagle Court. And because we were looking at a variance condition, they were looking at the architectural conditions. I suspect that's going to be one of the questions that I ask, that created this additional space so that they could create some more internal functionality. I am familiar with the property, although the home is big. The kitchen was kind of centered in the house and was rather small. It had a large island in the middle that kind of dominated a little bit.
Yeah.
With
Tough
regard,
guy to walk around.
that's not a problem I generally have, sir. In terms of the front yard variance and the bulk criteria, the applicant is proposing a 19-foot setback or 19.6-foot setback along the rear because of that roof cover that they're proposing over the deck. And the expansion of the home brings is 13.4 here for bulk variance is required. So they also have a side yard variance. I'm sorry, I lost my place. Front yard variance, 19.6 non-conforming where 40 is required. And then that's the requirement. Oh no, and a side yard of 13.2. So they're proposing 13.2 where 20 foot is required. And without that roof cover, they were sitting at 25.3. With regard to the addition, Mr. Dilberti or Mrs. Dilberti, whoever wants to answer, you've already touched on it, but I just wanted to make sure. So, what would happen if you didn't do the addition to the house and you kept it the same size and square footage? So you kept that unsquared corner on the one side and you didn't do the addition to the dining room area and the kitchen. Would you guys be able to reconfigure the kitchen in such a way, or would that affect other rooms on the first floor?
I don't think we would be able to reconfigure the kitchen because, like I said, you've been in the house, a few times, and
The way
it's
the stove
the
was.
way the stove
I was always worried when we have kids, God forbid, because it was literally in the middle, and like if there was a pot or something,
like my niece was over for our housewarming, and like I said, I have a large family. I had a big 5-gallon boiling pot of water, for pasta and everything, and I see her walking behind the stove, and immediately my heart dropped, and I'm thinking, like, when we have kids, God forbid that pot just slipped off the stove, that baby would be scarred for the rest of their life. And it's right in the middle of the island. There's no protection or anything. So we moved the kitchen so we could keep the stove away from any really throughway traffic. Because if you go from the living room to the kitchen table, you got to walk through the kitchen.
Because your kitchen was in the center of the house.
Right in the center.
So would it be fair to say that if you wanted to reconfigure the kitchen within the existing footprint of the home, you'd have to reconfigure a lot more than just the kitchen area? You would have partition walls that you'd potentially have to take down and support structures that may have to be redesigned?
100%, yes.
Okay. Chairman, I think that's what I've got for right now.
Okay. Damien, would you say that, well, I agree that the increase in the FAR is de minimis. It's 005. It's 249 to 254. The house can handle it.
I mean,
the property
I
can
think
handle it. It's not going to be seen in many ways, other than the corner build, right?
The addition's actually going to kind of be buried into the deck a little bit because the deck is going to be roofed. So in many ways, I think it would be kind of concealed. In terms of how the structure looks from Oakland and Eagle, there's really not going to be much of a visual impact. The structure isn't changing otherwise. There is a small squaring off in the back left corner, but again, that's going to be literally, we're talking about a square foot or two. That doesn't really change anything. It'll just make it look a little more typical.
Yes.
Yeah, from the rear, because I've seen the front, and obviously the front isn't going to change there. So any of the construction is going to be behind the fencing, right?
It's gonna
Yeah.
be behind the fencing and it's gonna be towards the pool area.
Okay, and as far as can I ask you about the setbacks? You actually picked up a half a foot? Is that, am I reading that right on the minimum front yard?
Because, well, no, it's not that he's picking up a half a foot. It's a little misleading. The problem is that there are existing front yard setbacks on three sides, and then this new addition brings an area that was larger. It was, I think, 25 feet. It
Right.
brings it close to the front yard that was previously approved, but it's a half a foot shorter than what was previously approved. So it's kind of working within the existing approval, but this area is technically new.
Right, he had existing at 19 and it's going to 19.6. And then the.
Yeah, but that
side-
19 is a different side.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and the minimum side yard he had at 25.3 and it's going to 13.2.
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Gill. Let me just see if some of the board members may have some questions, and I'm going to go to Mr. Clancy. Board members, I can see everyone. Does anyone have a comment or a question for the Gilbertis? Everybody understand? I don't know if you've all seen the house. It's a large house, and most of this, well, all of it would be invisible to you if you didn't go towards their backyard. So,
What was the previous square footage of the house?
I think the previous square footage of the house was 4,055.
And you're going another 200.
It's roughly, I think the overall square footage is like 4,000, like
Have it on here.
205. Or, so it's only like 150 foot square footage. I have the plans here. I could kind of look quick.
I think it's like 200 square feet we're adding. It tells you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's 22.
Okay,
was-
so
it looked like that's a lot. Go ahead, sir.
22
Okay.
plus
2251. 41.
So it's actually less than 100 square feet bigger. It comes out to 4133.
Because that's it's a big house. And so in other words, you can't refigure it because the square footage is a big house. That's
Yeah.
pretty. So you couldn't switch the kitchen around a little bit?
Mr.
We did switch
Damien,
it.
in the plans, we did switch it. We
Okay,
put the kitchen kind of like, in the new drawing is more towards like the corner of the house. So it would be like living room, dining like dinette area, then
Right.
the kitchen's off to the right. But like Mr. Gill was explaining, to make the kitchen a little larger, because it's still small over there, where we
Right.
would put it, we would have to start removing like bearing walls and stuff like that.
okay,
Because if you look in the plans,
Yeah.
like
Right.
where the refrigerator is and everything,
right,
that's all, no, I'm sorry, between the two breakfast area and the kitchen, there's a bearing wall there. So if I had to make it bigger, I would have to remove it.
I see, okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else with questions? I can't see. Oh, there we go. Anybody else? Mr. Izzo, go ahead.
Looking at the aerial view of figure 2, again, we're going to the top right corner where it's going to be squared off.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And the pergola side is the left, that's not being touched.
No, that's the living room side. That is all the same square footage. That's not being touched.
So if you was to draw on a piece of paper, you could almost make your house perfectly square.
Because we have a lot of angles into the house.
Correct.
A lot of it is just squaring everything off to give it a different,
Yeah, the guy
know.
who built it, it was very strange how they were like cut off in certain places. We
Yeah.
just kind of wanted to look more cleaner.
Right.
Yes.
Now, at least you're not going the other way where it's going to stick out.
no.
It's going to be nice and conform.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
Anybody
We
else?
take a lot of pride in our home. We want it to be beautiful.
Yeah, like I said, this is our forever, it was originally our forever home. And now that, if we get to rebuild this, you're going to have us forever.
That's good to hear. All right, anyone else from the board? Mr. Clancy, if I could pick your brain, it seems that the positive outweighs the negative here. I see what they're doing. It is a unique situation. I don't know that this would have ever come up had there not been a fire issue there. Not that the fire is the hardship, but I think the layout is the hardship.
Yeah, it's definitely, as it's been testified to, a unique layout property. Not only is it a corner lot, but the way that the house is situated on that lot certainly presents a number of unique challenges. Mr. Gill did a great job of kind of laying out for us. And with the D4 variance, it's more akin to like a D3 analysis with the conditional use. So what the board would need to determine is whether or not this site will be able to accommodate any of the problems that would be associated with the permitted use, given that we're going to now expand the floor area. So that's the main analysis on the positive side. And on the negative side, it's a matter of determining whether or not any conditions need to be imposed to protect, the zone plan and the master plan and their intent. So it sounds like, based on the testimony that we've heard before, and I would ask the applicant directly, do you believe that the enlargement that you're doing here, I realize it's only a relatively small amount, but do you believe that the property can accommodate this increase without any detriment to anybody surrounding it?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Okay. And is there any additional light that may be going on to other properties, or any additional impact on any other properties as a result of the improvements?
No.
I'm kind of confused with the question.
So are you adding any windows? Are you putting spotlights up? Is there anything along those lines that
no.
may change the way the property appears from somebody else's yard or from the street?
Oh, okay.
Windows and
We
stuff.
just got
yeah.
like windows in the back. And more. We have more.
We added more windows to bring
Yeah,
more
we
natural
want-
light into the house.
Exactly.
But nothing.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like anything that would impact the surrounding property,
No,
correct?
the windows are more or less the same. Just the back of the house, because we just had the back door and like a bay window above it. We just moved that to the front of the back of the house in the middle, and just a little couple more windows. But for the most part, it's pretty much around the same amount.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if we had any other questions.
Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied that the positive and the negatives haven't been met. And in the overall view, this is a very big house if you've seen it on the lot, and it really isn't increasing. Most of the increases are de minimis.
Yeah.
What's there is there, and it's not going to change.
Right.
And from the prior approvals, apparently, we have reached today's seeking, variance for something that happened as a result of a fire. So they're taking that opportunity to do a little bit more work in their kitchen, which obviously is probably one of the most important areas of the house. And
Absolutely.
Of course.
Especially holidays.
and of course, thinking that small children could get injured. I like the public safety aspect of them considering that, because that obviously there was a house fire there already. I don't know why, and it's none of my business, but certainly we wouldn't want to see anybody injured. And bad setup again. I've never been in your house, and I can feel for you that you're trying to take aim at when your children do come about. You want to make sure they're safe as well.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm pretty well satisfied, Mr. Clancy. I don't do. Is there any other board member who would like to weigh in? If not, I'd like to go to a public portion at this point. Okay, Mr. Gilberti?
Sure.
All right, this is matter 18-2023Z. The location is 2 Eagle Court. It's block 13304, lot 1 for home reconstruction and expansion. It's going to require a C&T variance. If anyone wants to be heard on this matter, there's however you're watching us, there's phone numbers there in front of you. It says virtual zoning board meeting. If you call anyone in those numbers, you will be able to be connected live with the zoning board. Ms. C, is anyone in queue at this point?
There are no raised hands, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Gilberti, we just have to give it about a minute or so to give
Sure.
people a chance, and if there are none, then I'll be okay to close the public portion. But we just need to allow people to have the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're watching and you have any interest in this matter, now would be the time to call in. There will not be another hearing on this. The board probably will reach a decision tonight. So if you have any kind of public comment, now would be the only time to do so. And
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting,
Yes.
just want to let you know, Mr. Connor joined our meeting around 7:38. And so
Thank-
he's been present from the start of the testimony.
Okay, does he feel qualified to vote, or would he like to abstain at this point? Jim? I don't know, is he there?
I would qualify to vote. I've heard all of the testimony.
Okay, all right, thank you, Vice Chairman, I appreciate that. And did we get anybody to call in as of yet, Ms. C?
There are no raised hands, Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Clancy?
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think we're good here. And just a reminder to everybody who's listening, these are the same numbers for the next application. So if you've been looking at them, so.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Clancy. If
We're-
you're
we're-
looking
we're
for the
safe
next
to-
one, I'll interrupt this one just to tell you, make sure you write something down now, because the numbers will not change.
Right.
Just the application. All right, I'm going to close the public portion. Mr. Gilberti, anything you and your wife want to make a final comment on? And then I'm going to ask you if you'd like me to take a vote on this.
I think we're pretty good.
I just want to say thank you very much for, considering us and having this date for us, because we really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thank
Yes,
to
but it's
all of.
quite all right. We try to service the community, so you are
Appreciate it.
members of
Yes.
our community.
We know it was a unique situation, so
Yes.
we're just grateful.
It is indeed. And once again, I'm very sorry that happened to you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote on this. The first vote would be for a D4 floor area ratio. And let me pull this up. The requirement in the zone is 0.17. However, this house presently existed at 0.249, board. And then they're asking to go to 254. So it's an 005. It's a rather de minimis amount, but nonetheless, it's still it's non-conforming situation. So is anybody interested in moving this for a G4 floor area ratio?
Chevalier will move it.
Chevalier
Second.
and Testaverde seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes,
Mr. Stoner,
Yes,
Ms. Chevalier,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes,
Ms. Andrews,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. Now we have two Cs. I can take them together, Mr. Clancy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we have minimum floor area, I'm sorry, we have minimum front yard setback. It's supposed to be 40, presently it's 19, it's going to 19.6. That's non-conforming, and the other one is
Minimum side yard. it looks
Side
like.
yard.
side yard is 20, it's supposed to be 20, it's at 25.3, it's going to go to 13.2. We can vote on those as a block. Someone want to move the bulk variances, please?
Chevalier will move it.
Is there a second?
Andrews, second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
yes,
Mr. Stoner,
yes,
Ms. Chevalier,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
yes,
Ms. Andrews,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Stronger people may have given up to the Gilbertis. I want to say, kudos to you for sticking around, trying to make that home back to where it was for you and your forthcoming family. We need people in the community. We don't like people leaving. We like people staying. So I wish you the best of luck. My vote is yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the resolution will be prepared for the next meeting, Mr. Gilberti.
Okay, and when would the next meeting be?
July 6th.
That sounds right.
Would you be able to get that done by then, Mr. Clancy?
I don't see why not. Yeah.
Okay, it'll be by July 6th. So you're gonna have to keep in touch with the building department for any
It
approvals.
would be over Zoom as well, correct?
No, that's live. July
Okay,
6th
where,
will be live.
is there any way we're gonna be on vacation till July 11th. We come back.
Well, it will be done, and you can contact the zoning office Ms. C, would they contact?
Mr. Gilberti, you're not required to appear
Oh,
at the meeting. The resolution would be adopted that evening, and then our office will provide you with the signed copy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. I thought you were talking about just picking it up. No, you don't have to testify anymore. It's over.
Oh,
We
okay.
weren't sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, both of you, for being.
Thank you
God
so
bless
much.
you
I
all. We
appreciate you all. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Have a wonderful day.
Good night. I will move right to this next application. It's 29-2023Z. It's Jayesh Shah. This is low medium density residential R20 block 12283 lot 4. Physical location 60 High Point Way, home reconstruction and expansion, also as a result of a fire, also requiring C and D variances. Is Mr. Shah here?
Right here.
I see you up in the right, okay, my right corner. I see a woman next to you. Will both of you be testifying, sir?
Yes.
Okay, the board attorney is going to swear both of you in.
Okay, can you just raise your right hand for me, both of you? And do you solemnly swear that any testimony that you provide before this board will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, we are.
Okay, you can put your hands down and just state your name for the record one at a time.
My name is Jayesh. Last name is Shah, S-H-A-H.
My name is Rupal. Last name is Shah.
And how do you spell your first name?
RUPAL.
R-U-P-A-L. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. and Mrs. Shah, you probably around for you watched the whole last application, correct?
Yes, we did. Yes.
Are you going to have any professional speaking this evening?
No.
All right, by rule, the board attorney is going to put you under a warning that you do not have a stenographer, correct?
I do not have stenographer. I do have my builder and architect, just in case if you have any question that I cannot answer.
Well, this is merely about having a stenographer.
No, I don't have. No, I'm sorry.
So just, Mr. Clancy's just going to tell you a few things, and then he's going to ask you to comment on it.
Okay.
Okay, so similar to what I told the other folks at the beginning of their application, if something were not to go the way you wanted it to tonight, the next step would be to have an appeal, and the basis for that appeal is usually a transcript of the meeting. And typically, professionals would hire a stenographer. They would take down every word that's said tonight in the event it's needed for a court record moving forward. As a courtesy, the township does record these meetings. They do put them up on the YouTube channel, which is generally accessible after the fact if you needed to play it back. However, we can't make any guarantees as to the accuracy of that recording. Sometimes people don't speak loud enough, or it isn't picked up by certain microphones, so it may not provide an entire transcript properly for the purposes of an appeal should that become necessary. It is your right to have a stenographer there. So I just want to put you on notice that if you don't have one, you would need to either not move forward with the application tonight or place a waiver of that onto the record. So do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, we do. We'll place a waiver.
Okay, you're waiving your right to a stenographer, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Having
you.
said that, pretty much we're going to ask you to do the same thing. And before I do, on behalf of myself and the board and the township, I'm very sorry that you also had a fire at your home. I'm assuming no one was hurt. I hope that they were not. I did.
No, thank God it was only me and my wife at home. My son's room is right above the garage. That's where he started, but he was out. Thank God, because most of the time my son would have his headphone on and you cannot hear him, or you got to scream it. So somebody up there was looking after us, and thank God we're safe. We can always rebuild, but
Correct. And again, once again, we're very sorry that happened, and I'm very glad that no one was injured. Like manner, I'm going to ask you to tell us, sir, what you're going to do, what's changing there on the property that's going to require two variances here. So in your own words, and then of course, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to Mr. Gill. He's going to explain things to the board. We may have some questions. Again, I'll go through that. I'll check with Mr. Clancy. We'll do a public portion, and then if you want, we'll call for a vote, okay?
okay, sounds good.
You
So
can-
basically what we're doing is we're going to keep the 4-bedroom, but my in-laws, they live in Florida, so they might be moving with us. They're around 79, 80 years old. So we'd like to get a bedroom downstairs. So we're replacing our dining room, and we're going to create that as a bedroom area. And we're gonna have a dining room will be right with the kitchen. So we'd like to extend it in the back with the cantilever of 3 feet. So we can have a kitchen and a dining room along with the family room. It's gonna be one straight room. And we can have 1 bedroom downstairs for our elderly in-laws that will be coming from Florida. Upstairs, we're gonna be keeping 3 room. I'm just having more space as far as the bathroom on each room and also closet space, which were very small for our kids. So we're having a walk-in closet upstairs. In the backyard, I am getting rid of my pool. We have a patio. We're gonna be getting rid of the patio, and I'm gonna have a deck in the back instead of patio. We're gonna be filling the pool as well. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, yeah, I read that, yes, you're filling the pool in, correct? You're putting a new walkway along the other side of the house, correct? Also correct?
Yeah, we're gonna have pool filling, and then we're gonna have a deck in the back, and the rest will be filled with the lawn.
Okay. Mr. Gill?
Thank you, Chairman. Everything I said for the last application. No.
Flies, it almost.
With regard, to be honest, I say that in jest, but the reality is the numbers are actually very, very similar. While the addition size is different dramatically, they're doing a more substantial addition than the last application. The numbers, the deviation actually winds up being almost the same when you break it down. It's actually 0.005 is the deviation. But this property doesn't have as wild a history. This is a typical home for this development. The homeowners came in after the addition or after the fire that took place and made an application to do the addition. We looked at a couple of ways to make this home make sense without a variance, and the reality was that they couldn't accomplish what they wanted to accomplish without doing this addition. For them to make it work, they needed that 3-foot bump out, or they had to cut it short so it wouldn't extend the full width of the back of the home. And architecturally, they didn't think that was the most desirable outcome. They said it, but I just wanted to ask the question so that we clarify on the record. Mr. Shaw, if I heard you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, the home is currently improved with 4 bedrooms. And
Yes.
after this renovation, it will still be equipped with only 4 bedrooms. It's just
That is-
you're relocating one from the 2nd floor, essentially down to the 1st floor.
That is correct.
Okay. I asked that because one of the things that Mr. Clancy touched on in the last application is the intensity and how this is going to affect the site. So we're getting slightly roomier rooms, but we're not really increasing bedroom counts or anything like that with
That
this
is correct.
application.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Then going on to the applications, Chairman, I believe you said there was a bulk variance with this one, but I don't think there's any bulk variance. I think this is.
You know what? It's printed on the agenda, but I'm reading through it quickly here again now, and I don't believe there is.
I believe it's just.
I agree on that. I also reviewed the memo.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there's any bulk. It looks like it's straight D4. I think everybody's on the same page there.
That's correct,
Yep.
Damien. We found that upon review.
Yes. Okay. I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure. So
Yeah, I was
yeah,
just
we're
reading the agenda, and now I'm reading the actual review letter again, and yeah, it's just the D4.
Okay.
Yep. So we're looking at just the D4 variance. As I was saying, the property exists at 10,568 square feet. The existing FAR is conforming at 0.281. And the addition that they're proposing is approximately 570 square feet. And again, that's necessitated by the width of the home, by the depth that they were seeking to accomplish to make those rooms and that area usable. But it does exceed the FAR at 0.335, where the standard is 0.33, which amounts to a 0.005 deviation or 52.84 square feet. It's for that reason that the applicant is here this evening. Make sure there's nothing else I missed. Nope, I think that's it, Chairman.
It's the exact same number, 005 from the other.
Yeah, it's the exact same number as the previous. It's just the ratios are different. The addition here is bigger and the lot is a little bit smaller, but the house was much smaller to begin with.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Clancy, this, I guess is very similar to our other situation where it's a give and take here that, I guess they're closing off their pool for whatever reason, but, with that 2 foot, that bump out is causing this versus, this is all going right back on the same foundation. There's no change in the footprint. I want the board to know that if you haven't studied the plan. So everything is built up but there's a cantilever kind of a situation.
Right.
Like, explain that correctly, right?
Yes.
So that is the only issue here for the floor area ratio, and I guess moving the bedroom certainly would be good foresight, I guess, for your parents or you. I believe you said it was your folks.
Right. Yep.
Who may visit or have to come and live with you at some point.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Now, would this fit in with the rest of the neighborhood, Mr. Shaw? Does it disturb like the whole area that yours would look so much different or bigger than anybody else's?
Now, basically, I see in our area, different houses has different builds, so I don't think it would, it would look different because I see down the road or the other side of the street, they have a different look house, so.
And you're not doing anything that's going to interfere with anybody else in your neighborhood at this point, your neighbors on either side, other than just the rebuild?
That's exactly, yeah.
The last applicant, you're not changing anything where lighting is going to change?
No. No, it's gonna be the same, basically. Interior will be different, exterior will be the same. Except we're not using pool that much. We just want to cover it up and make a deck on back.
Yeah, when you say covered, you're literally taking it out and filling it, right?
Yes, we will fill it. We got the permit today.
Okay.
We're gonna be doing that, yes.
Okay, and you don't, this is obviously, it wouldn't mean something to you, but Mr. Clancy, it doesn't seem like it would be altering the zone plan whatsoever.
No, and I don't know that there's any negative criteria that really need to be mitigated against here by conditions from the board. It doesn't sound like it'll have any impact on the neighbors in any meaningful way. It shouldn't, impact the zone plan any differently than what's already there. So I think we're okay on that front.
Mr. Gill, would you agree?
I agree, Chairman. They're really not changing anything to the rear. And like you said, the addition sits on a cantilever. So in terms of the footprint, that's not changing either.
So certainly, Mr. Clancy, the board can act on this in clear conscience, I would think.
Yeah, it would certainly seem so.
Okay. Let me go to the board members. Questions for Mr. or Mrs. Shaw, the applicants? I see no hands at this time. I'll try it one more time after I do a public portion. Mr. Shaw, do you have anything else you want to tell me now? Because I'm going to open up a public portion.
Now, basically, we've been living with this in this area for 12 years. We like the area. It's quiet area from where we moved. Neighborhood is good. Lots of neighbors that we know around the area, and we like to stay here forever until we can.
Understood, sir. Thank
Love
you.
the place. It's very nice, safe neighborhood for our kids as well. Yes.
Thank you for your candid comments. I'm going to open up the public portion on this matter. The matter number is 29-2023Z. The location is 60 High Point Way. This is a rebuild on the house, a home reconstruction, and a slight expansion. So it's going to require a floor area ratio, which is also very de minimis. If you're interested in speaking on this matter, there's phone numbers in front of you, whatever device you're watching us on this evening. Please call one of those numbers at this time. There will not be another application. This matter will finish this evening. It will not be continued to another night. Is there anyone in queue at this point, Missy?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. We're going to give it about another 30 seconds or so. But once again, anyone watching at home, if you have any interest in this matter, now is the time to call. This matter will be concluded this evening, so there'll be no further public portions. Mr. Clancy?
Mr. Chairman, I know that we've had the public portion open for over a minute now, and seeing no additional hands, I think we're safe to close it.
Thank you, Ms. C. There is no one in queue?
There are no raised hands, although one of our panelists has his hand raised,
Okay.
just so that you're aware.
Okay, so I'm going to close the public portion at this point, and we'll go back to the panelists, whoever had their hands raised, because I couldn't see. Who was that?
I had my hand raised, but I'm not a panelist.
Oh, okay.
I'm the client's architect, Mr. Shaw's architect.
Okay. Were you planning on testifying, sir?
I just
Well, if you're gonna-
confirm a few things. I hate for my client to come back again in case of zoning
Well,
off.
If you want to testify, obviously, the board attorney will put you under oath.
Sure.
Sir, if you would just kindly raise your right hand. And do you solemnly swear that any testimony you provide before this board will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, you can lower your hand and state your name.
Joseph Javier.
And you're an architect?
Yes, I'm an architect for
Okay.
registered architect in New Jersey.
Okay, you want to give your credentials to the board so they can just understand who they're talking to?
I have a 5-year architectural degree. Been licensed in New Jersey since 2004.
You've testified before boards before, sir?
Yes, I have.
Okay, we'll accept your credentials. Please let us know what you want us to know about this build.
Okay, well, I know that the question about the bulk requirements came up.
Yeah, there is none. That was on my list, but it's not true.
Well, it was non-conforming.
Right.
The required, for example, the rear setback is required at 50. And once we did the 3-foot cantilever, it kind of brings it to 45, almost 46. So
Chairman, if I could clarify there.
Yeah.
Miss C, and I'm sorry to cut you off, sir. Miss C reminded me when we were doing a review. This application came in under the underlying zone, which the professional is absolutely correct. The requirements are vastly different than what our review memo says because they're based on the
R20.
R20 zone.
Yeah.
However, this was a cluster development of Kaplan Homes, and it was built to R7 standards. So that's why the agenda and the notice originally identified a rear yard setback variance. The applicant erred cautiously because we didn't know any better. They proposed what they knew to be the variances at the time, but this was actually a cluster zone development. And as a cluster zone, the rear yard setback was actually 25 feet, not the 50 that
Okay,
the
so we're
professional
okay.
is alluding to. So you guys are okay. I do appreciate you.
Yeah, I
It's good that we get that on the
just wanted
record.
to
So
be
that there's
sure
no-
because I didn't want the zoning officer checking it and then now we're wasting time coming back to another hearing.
Well, I'm just keeping myself important. So if we get it wrong, I just build more work for the board.
Thank you. That's all I needed to say. I
I'm
just
sorry,
want-
Mr. Javier, you obviously you did the architecture on here. You think it's going to look nice and it's going to fit and it's not going to stand out, right? It's not going to change
Fit it
anything.
right in with the neighborhood, like it was never on fire.
Okay. Well, we thank you for your appearance this evening.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other board member want any final comments? I've already closed the public portion. The next is I'm going to ask Mr. Shaw if you'd like us to go take a vote.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Board members, this is only for a D4 floor area ratio. Once again, it's at 3.3 going to 3.35, identical almost to the last application of 0.05. So it's rather de minimis, but nonetheless, there is a floor area ratio. Is someone in favor of moving the FAR D4?
Connor, motion to approve.
Is there a second? Ms. Andrews, seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier,
Doreen, you're muted.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Scoggo,
Yes.
Ms. Andrews,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
I got to give you credit, Mr. and Mrs. Shai. I said that to the other applicant. I don't know that I could stay in the same home after losing it like that. So I'm glad that you want to stay here in Old Bridge. You have a good investment in the community and the community wants you to stay. So certainly my vote is yes, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your help.
Okay, again, that resolution will be ready at the next meeting. You don't have to appear, but that resolution will be ready for that meeting, okay? And then the board will act on it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your help.
We appreciate your appearance, sir. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Board member, we have no other board members, no other business except general public comments. Is anyone in queue at present, Ms. C, for general public comments?
There are no raised hands.
Okay. Anything else from the legal side, Mr. Clancy, that you'd like to inform the board?
No, other than that, I'll see you at the June 6th meeting. I'll be there for that one in person. So it'll be nice. Looking forward to seeing everybody. We'll have these resolutions together for you.
You mean July 6th?
July 6th, yes.
July 6th, sorry.
Yes.
What did I say, June 6th?
Unless we get the
Yes,
way
you
back.
did. Yes, you did say June 6th.
Wow. It's flying by.
Yes, it is.
And Ms. C, you have nothing for the board other than just notification of the meeting, right?
Correct.
Okay, anybody call in?
No.
All right, I'd like to wish everybody a healthy and happy 4th of July holiday. Does fall in the middle of the week, kind of unique this year. So please be safe, and those at home, please be safe. I'd ask the board if someone would move for an adjournment.
I move it.
All in favor,
Okay.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Opposed.
we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Take care.